Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And this is Season 9, Episode 8.
Or Episode 198 if you're counting.
And good to see you all again today. Thank you very much for being here as always. Hey, so Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse
comes out today officially, but we got to see it last Saturday, and there's a reason we're starting off talking about it, because it's so good.
So very good.
So good.
So if you haven't gotten the chance to see it yet, by now it's available, wide release for everybody to see. Please do go see it. Everything you're hearing about it is great. Absolutely great, and they're not lying. It's just fantastic animation.
And again, I can't believe, like, people knew again in the theater, but this is kind of the case for any Marvel movie. Stay after the credits. There's a really, really good scene after the credits. It's absolutely worth it. It's nice to sit through the credits. Just the soundtrack was so good. That came out today too. I need to get on that on Spotify.
Need to nab it for sure.
Just so many good things going on right now. So we got to see that last week. Tomorrow we get to go see Aquaman a little early.
Just a little bit. Some people, of course, have already seen it. I've seen people already start talking about it.
Like, the embargo should be up in another day or two, if I'm not mistaken. But we get to see it thanks to Amazon Prime. Good for them. So looking forward to that. I hear it's okay.
Yeah, I hear
it's
it's
enjoyable.
A movie, yeah. I think that's all I was expecting out of an Aquaman movie, if I'm to be honest with you. Especially out of the DC and Warner Brothers that we got right now. Well, out of this day and age, that's the best that I can hope for.
Funny enough, so long as it's not Batman or Superman, I don't feel so bad about it.
Yeah, funny how they can get their top-tier heroes wrong.
And we're gonna have a little bit more to say about that in the follow-ups tonight, thankfully.
Yes, for sure.
But yeah, so what's going on?
Those are a few things I keep getting free movie passes out here to go see stuff, which is, I guess, part of the perk of living out in Los Angeles. They're just constantly bombarding with potential for free movie passes. So they're probably also going to see Mary Poppins Returns on Monday.
I'm actually really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so that's only a few days before it comes out anyway.
It's like a week out.
Yes.
But I'm happy having that week, and I'm happy not paying.
Exactly. So, can't wait to see that, because I hear that it stays relatively true to Mary Poppins, but we'll find out for sure a little bit later. Anything else going on that you want to talk about before we move forward?
Let me see.
Oh, my can is disappearing. Check this out.
Because it's green.
Because it's green. Oh,
but
this is awesome.
I like the way that you can still see some of the green. It's like this weird green. It's like, hey, Pepsi, get on making a can that actually looks this weird color green.
Oh, yeah. Make a Pepsi Man that kind of shifts in and out like a friggin' Predator.
Well, no, just think about it. You know, we have Pepsi Man. Why not Mountain Dude?
Mountain Dude? Mountain Dude.
That's off the dome right now. Where is Mountain Dude?
Okay, well, you're now Mountain Dude.
I'm Mountain Dude?
You just invented him, now you have to be him.
I have to be Mountain Dude. I gotta go up, all bright green and be like...
No, you can't steal Pepsi Man's, like his skills, his abilities, his powers.
Well, then what differentiates Mountain Dude from Pepsi Man?
We'll have to come up with that later.
Okay.
We'll come up with it later.
You guys can help.
See?
You guys are gonna have to help me come up with that during the chat after the show. Because it's not every day you guys get to pay nothing to see people use the creativity in action like this.
Exactly.
We're coming up with the big ideas right now.
I'm going to assume we have nothing else of importance to talk about amongst ourselves.
It's Christmas.
Not yet, it's not.
I mean, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Because I actually heard...
I got you Christmas presents.
I am getting yours. They are in transit.
Okay, I understand.
Yes. Because at least they're shipping. This is your friendly reminder. You've got like a week left. Get on that.
Yeah. Or else your family is going to be very disappointed.
Or you can be like a lot of people, friends and family I know, and give people heads up. Hey, stuff is rough this year. Your stuff will come just a little later.
Yeah.
So long as you're upfront about that, I think that's okay.
Usually, yes.
It's the thought that counts.
Exactly.
So long as Christmas happens, it doesn't happen. For some people do it on the 24th. Some people do it right on Christmas. Some people have to wait a couple of days. I do I'm happy to do this. I do a white elephant, or not white elephant, just a gift exchange, Secret Santa with my Overwatch team, and usually we have to wait a couple days because we all have different schedules.
Right.
But that's a nice thing. You know, they're like extended family to me, so I know a lot of people do that too. It's a good time of year. Trying to focus on the positives.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, so then why don't we go ahead and talk about what our main stories are going to be for the day?
No, why don't you talk about the shows, and I will talk about the shows too.
I said we.
Isn't that what I just said? Just different?
Why did you need to change it? I said we.
You know, trying to be an individual together.
What are we talking about, Josh?
Okay, so first off, we've got a full show for you tonight. The first thing we're going to talk about tonight is a trailer we just barely found out about a week ago, but this is a new project from James Gunn, who was just recently let go from Marvel, which is, for all intents and purposes, his take on the Superman origin story if he was a bad guy as a child.
And also if this was actually officially sanctioned as a Superman movie, which it isn't.
Which it isn't. It's not. But it might as well be. So we're going to talk
to you... Brightburn.
It's called Brightburn. We're going to talk to you guys about that trailer.
Second up, we talked about Ultraman just a couple weeks ago. We're going to talk about him again. So Ultraman is getting pitched as some sort of a North American project.
Yes, and it could be a live-action series, much like we have over there, or it could be a movie that's kind of being decided right now. We're going to speculate over that a little bit more in the second story. And then, of course, the third story, Big G's back, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, that new trailer, that sweet kaiju footage. We're going to bring that to you tonight. Very, very excited for that.
Very, absolutely. In fact, we got stuff in regards to this to kind of talk about, too.
Just a little
bit of a follow-up, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that. But we should go ahead and go into the follow-ups.
Yeah,
All right, so follow-ups. As usual, we start with the DC stuff first. So, for whatever it's worth, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, or sad to see it go, Gotham has officially wrapped its 100th episode, which is also its final episode.
Yay!
So they're touting that this, of course, is the final season. All of the characters, again, will have a time jump in the very last episode, 10 years into the future. We will see Batman fully suited up. No word on what he looks like yet, but from what we've seen from the set pictures of Penguin and Riddler, they actually look accurate.
That's how I feel about Batman and Gotham.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Bless them.
Thank you.
Bless them for finally getting it right. Yeah, so good on them. But that's what's going on over there. Over on the CW, we've got a whole different set of problems with the announcement of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Is this a problem? That's what I'm asking you.
It's not so much a problem. It's actually what's been teased ever since The Flash showed up. So ever since The Flash pilot, we've known that there's been this piece of paper in the future that's all kind of touted this major comic crossover where, very famously, both Barry Allen and Kara Danvers, Supergirl, gave their lives in order to save the multiverse, and it just so happens we've got Barry Allen and Carol Danvers in their shows. Like, we don't want to see him die. Like, Grant Gustin, for all intents and purposes, is Barry Allen.
Sure.
I really like Melissa Benoist as Supergirl, but I don't want to see him die. We've already seen references here and there, and the newspaper there says it's supposed to happen in 2024, so maybe because of some time screwing around that Barry's done, it's moved up several years.
I hope it has, because I feel like 2024 was just such a long ways out, even from the beginning. It's still a long ways out. Thank you very much, John, for the host. Appreciate that. No, it's still a long way out, and I feel like we've set up enough that it could be done now.
The only thing about it is, of course, this was spanning over all of the DC continuity, so there's certain things that we're wondering about, and certain things that were kind of addressed there, such as the existence of Batman, Green Lantern, all of these other characters. Every character involved in this crossover that isn't quite there yet, or has just been mentioned, should show up. Now, they've said this isn't slated for winter of next year, it's going to be fall of next year, which means that this could be not just some crossover, this could be an event spanning...
The crossover.
The crossover for the Arrowverse. Could be spanning half seasons, is what some people are touting right now, up to potentially like 6 or 7 episodes, which I would actually prefer.
Sure.
You know, tell this story that's so cemented in DC lore. Like, this was the first big old, whoa, like, all this stuff is, you know, my jellies and my peanut butter and all this other stuff. It was crazy.
Jellies and my peanut butter.
Well, you know, when you're coming into crossing universes.
I understand.
Okay, and then over on the DC streaming site, we've got the promo for the season finale of Titans, which apparently is being touted as Robin versus Batman. Dick has to go back to Gotham to face off against Batman, who has gone nuts and has started killing people.
That doesn't sound right. That sounds like it's somebody impersonating Batman. He's gonna figure it out, and then he's gonna be like, oh,
That wouldn't be so bad if there weren't all these shots of Batman in the Batcave and next to the Batmobile, and from the silhouette, he looks like a good Batman. I'd like to get a good look at that suit, whatever they're using.
I'm sure Batman's there. That's not a question. The question is whether or not somebody else is pretending to be Batman and killing people.
Well, if that's the case, I would prefer that because, you know, let's get one depiction of Batman right. So far, the best depiction of Batman is the version in the Arrowverse where he's just gone.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Par for the course there. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our Marvel news. So here's some more dickish news from that whole Netflix debacle of losing Luke Cage, Daredevil, and Iron Fist. So, of course, we do have Punisher coming up. Let me go ahead and start there. We have this picture from John Barenthal's Twitter account showing that this is going to be the Punisher we're going to see, looking very...
He's upset.
Par for the course. That's going to
upset.
be next month in January. We don't have a specific day yet, but we do know that his Season 2 will be coming next month. Now, here's the problem that we're looking at from new news that was released, looking at the fine print. Unfortunately, a lot of people were thinking that, well, okay, if they're not going to have those series, those Netflix series of the Marvel shows on Netflix anymore, they're just going to put them on Disney's service.
Right.
That is not the case because of the fine print in the contracts, which specifies that all of those shows, once they are canceled, cannot show up anywhere streaming, TV, or movies for at least 2 years. So there's a moratorium on those characters. You won't see Daredevil, Luke Cage, or Iron Fist anytime soon.
So they're dead for 2 years.
They're dead for 2 years.
That's very sad.
That sucks.
Super sad.
Like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, did you think you were going to get them back at some point? Like you're releasing them out and you tied them to your universe. Why would you shoot yourself in the foot like this?
That's a very good question. They really want it back then. They've got to be, the next 2 years, they've got to have a big plan.
And see, the thing about it is, we already know that we've got Punisher Season 2, Jessica Jones Season 2 is coming too, and we have a fairly good idea that they're not long for Netflix. They're probably next on the chopping block. Now, the interesting thing here is Punisher may not be part of that deal because the 4 Defender shows, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Daredevil, they were all under that same clause.
Sure.
Punisher was developed after the fact, so that clause may not apply to him.
We don't know. We don't necessarily
We don't know yet. We'll have to find out. Okay, so of course you heard us at the top talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We got 2 things to report on there. The first thing were these, if you've seen the promos and if you go to see the movie, it's really hard to ignore. Air Jordan is doing this cross-promotion with the movie, and Miles is wearing these sweet Jordans. We got a picture of him here.
At least we should.
Where it says Spider-Verse.
Oh, Spider-Verse, their shoes. Their shoes. Okay.
No, that's not it.
That's not it. Where do you see Spider-Verse?
Right there.
Okay, right there.
Okay, so here's the shoes right here. These Air Jordans went on sale not too long ago. These are the ones that Miles does wear in the movie, and you can clearly see the Nike logo. These went on sale and sold out immediately. So if you had the $160 to drop on them, if I had them, I'd have gotten them.
I might have, yeah. I don't even like Jordans, but I like those.
You have Air Jordans.
No, I don't. I have never in my life owned a pair of Jordans.
Well, no, not Jordans. You had Nikes, not Jordans. There's a difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, those went very quickly. Resale market will probably double that amount. So good luck finding a pair. The other thing, which was the other photo you brought up, was this final DLC for the PS4 Spider-Man game, which of course has been doing very well. One of the suits being included in that is actually the Peter Parker suit from Into the Spider-Verse.
That's great. Like, they referenced each other. That's awesome.
Which is actually a thing. You could see it in the commercials, too, that the PS4 suit is one of the suits you see in the background.
Right.
So, yeah, that's nice cross-promotion.
And
there.
him doing this.
Don't let people...
It's the very beginning of the movie.
I know,
it's
but
literally the first, 15 seconds.
Okay, well, let me in there. But yes, these are the 3 new suits, the 3 final suits that we're going to be getting for the PS4 Spider-Man game. 2 suits that fans wanted very much, but unfortunately never made it, were, of course, the Raimi suit. Everybody wanted to play in the Raimi suit. And the other one were, surprisingly enough, they wanted an official Spider Cop suit.
Spider Cop.
Yes.
What does Spider Cop look like? We just...
He'd be like blue and he'd have a hat and he's a cop.
He's a cop. Okay, cool.
He's Spider Cop.
Because he's just this idea right now. He's
Right.
not like a thing.
Right.
He's not a thing.
Okay, so moving on to some other news, some interesting movie news. So we're keeping up with Toy Story 4, which we don't exactly know the plot of yet, but we do know that there's been another member added to the cast. This is not a joke. This has been confirmed. Keanu Reeves has a role in Toy Story 4.
Awesome. I think that's great.
I have no idea what toy he's playing, if he's playing a human. All I know is nothing better happened to Slinky.
Well, what did that have to do with Keanu Reeves?
You saw John Wick, right?
Okay.
Nothing better happened to Slinky.
To the dog, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
the dog. Don't let anything happen to the dog.
I understand.
Okay, moving on to some other video game news here. So Monster Hunter is getting this massive update with this new expansion to this ice realm. It's going to have its own story. This you saw earlier this week, and you're like, this is the thing that's going to get you into Monster Hunter world.
Yes, exactly.
The thing is, we haven't had a chance to play it yet, but, you know, we hear everybody talking about, oh my god, it's so good, it's so good, and then it wins the Game Award last week. Like, I feel bad that we've waited this long.
I do too, it just hasn't been in the money, you know? But, yeah, Geralt of Rivia, The Witcher.
Geralt is also going to be showing up. Cross-promotion there. I didn't think The Witcher would be a thing you'd see there, but then again, I didn't think Garo would be a thing.
Of course, I didn't think Geralt was going to show up in Soul Calibur, but, you know, there he is.
It was easier for me to digest him showing up there, because Soul Calibur just throws in whoever.
So now people are like, oh my god, Geralt confirmed for Smash, because he's just showing up places now. Like, he's just exploded in popularity as of late.
Well, once that Netflix series...
once Netflix comes out, absolutely. Oh my god. I'm thrilled for it. Because I'll say it, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I really feel like the first game in the Witcher series isn't good. The second game is like a sincere apology for the first one. It's a great improvement. And then the third one just... That's it. That's the game. That's
Haven't
the
you
one.
said that exact same thing about Mass Effect?
Yes. It's very, very similar in that sense. Mass Effect 2 was very good. And then Mass Effect 3 was great, except everybody hates the ending. So,
which they had to fix.
Yeah, which they had to fix. So.
Okay, so moving on to some other video game news, video game action figure news. So earlier this week, Blizzard unveiled the new Farah Figma figure. Try saying that 5 times fast. It goes on sale for next year. It's kind of pricey, $90 pre-order right now, but a lot of people very much liking the look of it. You know, she's got her ult pose there. For all the pheromones out there, you can add her to your collection with Mercy, and if you have the Genji figure, I'm sorry. But that'll be available to Overwatch fans.
So mean.
We're supposed to be mean to Genji mains. That's just what you do.
I guess.
Okay, moving on to some other weird video game news. So I don't know how else to look at this. So 2 people were in New York today. This isn't a joke setup. Again, this is true. Hideo Kojima was in New York today. You know, on whatever business that he's working on. Presumably working for Death Stranding. Something related to that. Sometimes celebrities reach out to one another on Twitter, you know, to see if they can collaborate or have lunch or things like that. One of the people I didn't expect to reach out to Hideo Kojima, Kanye West.
What?
Directly tweeting at Kojima, hey, we need to hook up, I'm in New York too. And then when he didn't...
How does Kanye West even know who Hideo Kojima is?
He's allowed to play video games.
I doubt he's... I mean, maybe he's played Metal Gear. Maybe, but...
So
like,
when he doesn't get a response from Kojima immediately, then he just tweets out, like, hey, does anybody know how to get in touch with Kojima? I'm trying to get at him right now. And I'm just over here like, man, like...
Did that go through?
Well, apparently somebody did reach back to him saying that, hey, I know his deets, I know how to get in touch with him. But, like, for my own sake, how would that meeting work?
I don't know.
Because Kanye just likes to talk.
He just says words.
He just says words now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, is that its own anime waiting to happen? Just watching the 2 of them trying to have a conversation, like... Saint Young Men style, like don't go anywhere else. Just focus on that conversation.
Does Kanye want a cameo in Death Stranding? Because we've got
No.
a Kojima cameo, we've got Norman
Del Toro.
Yeah. We got Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus starring in there. But it's like, you know what I bet it is? He's probably like, hey man, I think I already figured out the plot to your game.
Oh, and he's just gonna say words.
And he's just gonna go off.
Because that's pretty much what he's given us in that trailer so far, is just stuff. Maybe he really thinks he fits in there now. Maybe Kanye West is just like really... man, you're just out there blowing people's minds, and
that's what I do. I blow people's minds. So whether or not anything comes of that, I will be watching out for that. But that's gonna be a weird one.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to some other news here. We got that Godzilla news that we had from earlier. So this is kind of cool. After the trailer came out, we got these sweet posters of the three main, they call them Titans now in the movie. Of course, you see Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Rodan there. I want those right there across the wall.
Right there across the green screen.
Right there across the green screen.
Motion.
Well, I mean, you right now can just blow it up, but no, I want actual, like, I might have to go rob a bus stop.
Because there we go. There, you got it sprawled across the green screen, just like you asked.
Great.
There.
I mean, they just, so pretty.
We can pretend we have posters.
We can pretend we have posters.
Yeah.
We have digital copies that we put up on a green screen behind us. It's sad. So sad.
All right, let's get rid of it.
All right, let's get rid of it. And then... So, interestingly enough, we've been keeping up, of course, with Shout Factory's releases of Super Sentai, and they are now up to Hurricaneger.
Yay, that's
Now,
good.
what's interesting here is, normally it's been romanized without the E at the end of Hurricane, but they're keeping the E, so people are like, well, is that really a thing? But I mean, you know what, it's okay, we're getting it. So, pre-orders are going up, March is when it's coming out. Now they're getting closer to the series that I started watching when I got into Super Sentai, so I'm very excited to see this. You know, Hurricaneger has remained immensely popular. There's a reason they got there 10 years later. Everybody's still very happy to be a part of that series. If you haven't seen it, get your pre-orders in, get with it, act like you want it.
Definitely, for sure.
Yes, so we got that. And that's all our follow-ups for the evening.
Okay, great.
We got a full show.
So, but we're starting with a trailer, yes?
Yes,
We're
so
starting with...
Brightburn. Okay.
This thing that's going on right now.
So, again, we have to preface this. This is not a DC film.
No.
This has nothing to do with DC.
But it is very strange. And again, directed by James Gunn, who just, he got his ass fired after people brought up really angry tweets, or really old, somewhat insensitive tweets, so he's no longer working on Guardians of the Galaxy. As far as we know, Guardians of the Galaxy is just kind of dead in the water.
Yeah.
So now he's gone off and he has done this, which appears to... He seems like he still wanted to do, like, superhero-toned stuff. Maybe, also, as we go on to describe this trailer, it seems like maybe he's a little upset. Maybe that's how
just a little bit.
This came into existence.
Now, for starters, when you look at the way this trailer is cut, the music, the font, the overall story, it very much looks like it's trying to be evocative of those early trailers for Man of Steel.
Yeah.
So we should go ahead and explain what the plot is. We've got the trailer playing behind us here. Now, if this sounds familiar, there's a reason for that. There's a family who lives out in rural America who are trying to have a kid. They don't have a kid. Mysteriously, a thing from space crash lands and has a baby inside.
In their cornfield.
In their backyard. And they decide to adopt the baby as their own. As the baby becomes a boy, it's found that the boy wants to find out where he came from and is starting to exhibit powers not of this earth.
I mean, this sounds familiar.
It sounds
really.
pretty friggin' familiar. The difference here is that the boy, once his powers start to manifest, at some point decides the best thing for him to do is to put on a cape, wait for it, and kill everybody. Now, and see, the thing here is, you can see him there in the window, like, that's very Batman versus Superman, you know, cape floating in the wind, you know, the red eyes,
the
beady red eyes peering through the darkness here. Now, we get to this point in the trailer where clearly, you know, the kid's got, like, heat vision, and he's attacking this woman, this waitress in a restaurant. This was the point where you lost it when I showed it to you.
I held it together the whole time. I was just very stoic about it. And then he lunges at the waitress, and I died. just laughing.
Well, she probably died. But, but the thing of it is, like, what is this? Because people are saying, like, do we need another Superman movie this quickly? I mean, I guess, because DC's
But
in
it's
limbo.
not Superman,
But
so
it's
you
not
can't
Superman.
argue it.
No, it's its own thing. You know, he's come up with his own symbol, this, like, weird-looking Hatchet 8-looking thing.
It's like the little S's that you used to draw on your notebook in school.
Oh, the straight edge S.
That's what I always thought. I was like, oh, they're just trying to do something like that, but not. Because yeah, it's like an 8, but it's like an S, and it's like it's
But
a
that's
knockoff
kind of the
Superman.
It's a knockoff Superman. That's exactly what this is. And it's like, I know you're trying to make this a horror movie, but I can't help but laugh. Because it's ironically funny, and I don't know if that's what he was going for. I mean, like Slither, that was an ironic, funny horror movie. He's done it before, but I don't think that's what he was going for here.
I think he's upset. I legitimately think he's upset, and he's like, oh, people want to be mad at me about these superhero movies. Oh, I'm going to make one of my own. I'm going to show them exactly how I feel.
And see, the problem here is, like, on paper, if this was a reboot of some kind, I'd be like, first, what, we're doing another reboot? But then you got Elizabeth Banks there, and Tyler Labine, you know, Elizabeth Banks, of course, she's Rita Repulsa. Mm-hmm. Tyler Labine, he's here in the final season of Voltron, the voice of Hunk, as the parents, and it's like, you know what, I like both of them.
They're allowed to be
they're good. They're good actors. Like,
I mean, I don't think this is gonna necessarily be a bad movie, but I do think it's weird. I think it's weird. That's all. I mean, I'm genuinely curious, though. If I'm to be honest with you, I'm actually curious about this thing.
Because the hardest thing for me to do is because I'm so steeped in superhero culture. I don't know if I can take it seriously or if it's meant to be taken seriously.
But the thing is, it's not. You almost have to be like, well, it's not really a superhero because it's not really Superman, and he hasn't actually become a hero.
So then, if we have to look at it that way, is this movie in fact not quite Superman?
I mean, yes and no, because we already gave another movie that label, so we can't call this movie that.
Well, I mean, we had Not Quite Justice League, but that's a group. This is just one guy, one kid.
Well, this isn't saying it's Superman, though.
Well, yeah, he's not quite, because it's the kid, he's got the powers, he's got the origin story. The only thing that's missing is the morals, apparently.
Well, I mean, it sounds like the mother's trying to give him some morals, and then he just goes off his rocker.
Now, you were speculating that something could happen to him that makes him like that. That
Sure.
he wasn't necessarily bad to begin with.
Like, perhaps he was sent down there by whatever his planet was, whatever his people are, as an instrument to do this, and it's not that he wants to do this, but perhaps he's under some other control or manipulation. That's my guess.
I would feel better about it if that was the case,
because I feel like they're not gonna have this kid in this movie be horror bad from the beginning, because then they're gonna have to lock him up or kill him, and I don't think America is ready to see, even if he's a bad kid, I don't think we're ready to see this kid get murdered on screen, you know?
Well, because here's the thing that you have to think about, how much they're leaning into the mythos of Superman or the archetype, is how are they going to stop him? Mm-hmm. Because if he's exactly like Superman, he needs some form of kryptonite. Or is it different that this kid is susceptible to, like, poison or bullets or stuff that, you know, normal humans are susceptible to?
Or if he's under some other sort of control, do they have to go to the place that is kind of coordinating the control that he is under and make them stop doing the thing to make him be like he be?
I just thought about it right now. It's entirely possible they could play this, because we're just going off the visuals of what we see here. It's entirely possible this could be like the reboot of the Blob, because in the original Blob, the Blob comes from outer space.
Sure.
But in the reboot, in the 80s reboot, it looked like it came from outer space, but it was actually just us. We experimented on crap in orbit, and then it broke out of orbit, landed on Earth, and then became the Blob. Mm-hmm. So it could be that, like, humans did this.
That's
you know,
possible.
genetic
it's
editing,
possible.
And it got away. You know, they tried to get rid of it in a rocket. The rocket crashed, and that's what happened. It's entirely possible. Anything else that will try and put this in a different light. That way, it's not directly evocative of Superman, but the cape, I mean, really, like, that's pretty on the nose.
It is, it is.
The spaceship is there, like, we know what he was trying to do, and especially with the font and everything else, like, you're trying to go for that. And who knows, is this maybe a send-up of the whole thing of, oh, DC has to be dark and edgy, well, let's really push what that could have been.
This isn't a DC movie, though.
No, but if it's a send-up of that style, like, it doesn't have to be a DC movie to make fun of DC's style.
That's true. That is very true.
That could entirely be what that is. But again, that's the question of how serious do we take it?
I'm only going to take it so seriously.
Like, I'm straight up, like, we're going to go see this thing. I'm interested.
Oh, sure.
I'm going to be that guy who busts out laughing the first time he snaps somebody's neck. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing I'm going to be looking for is this kid going to snap somebody's neck?
Of course, yeah.
Because I would be willing to put
10
cents down right now that he's going to snap somebody's neck.
Well, he's already trying to, like, laser eye people, and he's already made the lunge, so...
And it's like, what could be so bad? Like, this is why I might believe your brain control theory. Like, what's so bad? Like, did she not give you chocolate milk at the diner? Like, why are you going after this lady?
I have to assume that, like, he starts, when he starts exhibiting his signs of being different, people start seeing he's different, and then they start either making fun of him,
bullying him,
or they're really weirded out by him, and he's just like, I can't take it anymore, and I'm just gonna start acting out. Like, honestly, I think that's a very realistic possibility for a kid reaching, you know, an age where they can start to think for themselves, and they just are so upset and distressed by the world not accepting them that they'll act out.
Looking at the kid, he doesn't seem like a teenager. He seems younger than that.
No, but like, he is. This is an age where they're starting to have a sense of self.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they've got a sense of self at about that age, sure. Yes, at that point, they're going to start acting out when they don't feel like they fit in. So
you're saying, like, this is Clark if the bullying was too much?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I can get behind that.
But we haven't seen enough, you know? We haven't seen enough of his setup as to how he got there.
So Memorial Day, that's not, you know, half a year away, so not too long. It's a good space to make us aware of this and start speculating. But I think if they put out any more trailers, they can't show us any more than this. Otherwise, I believe they're risking showing us the whole movie. Yeah, they'll give away too much if they do much more than this. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, that's Brightburn. If you didn't know, now you know. Uh-huh. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to Ultraman. Now, I'm a little concerned that we're going to start kind of retreading ground that we talked about a couple weeks ago, you know, setting up, well, what is Ultraman to begin with? But Ultraman has apparently been picked up for some sort of North American localization, live action, in some way, either a movie or a TV series or something of that nature. So what's happening here is that this is a collaboration. The parent company, Tsuburaya Productions, is working with Starlight Runner Entertainment to produce this new Ultraman concept, whatever it is. Property thing, yeah. Because the thing about it is, from everything we're reading from The Hollywood Reporter, is that they're piggybacking off, they're really going to make a lot of headway with this Netflix series. Like, they're really looking at that as, okay, this is going to be a ringy introduction, people are going to be aware of it, and then boom, we hit them with this new live action thing. But the question is, like, what is the best course of action? Now, they say live action, but with few exceptions here, you know, a few little animes and this new one coming up. Ultraman is live action. It's always been live action. Yeah. Like, ever since its inception. That's what Tokusatsu is. That's what Tokusatsu, exactly. So, you know, I'm here looking at it and I'm trying to figure out, okay, when you say live action, what do you mean? Do you mean a stateside produced Ultra series show? That's what it sounds like. Now, granted, that has existed once before, or at least twice. They use, twice. They've used Americans. That typically bombed. Well, yeah, because in those... Even in Japan, that typically bombed. Well, yeah, because in those particular cases, Ultraman Powered and Ultraman Toward the Future, they had a lot of problems. And a lot of those problems stemmed from financing, from problems with the suits, the construction clearly being, you know, they used cardboard to make their cities. Right, and, right. You know, there's only so many camera tricks you can do to cover that up. But the idea is, you know, if they bring it over here, what is the best way to reintroduce Ultraman? I think I don't want to say it's unnecessary for them to do this, but it's kind of like, why would you... How badly do you need to bring it over here? Like, do we need American actors to do it? Like, have you learned your lessons? Because you did it twice already. Like, think about this for a second. Toei made that mistake with Kamen Rider with us. Like, let's be real here.
Right.
They made that mistake twice because they didn't care enough about what they were doing.
Well, I mean, that was an adaptation of some previous footage. Is this going to be completely from scratch?
That's the question, too. They haven't said yet. Like, would they adapt Rube, or would they adapt Jeet, or something like that? Or would this be a brand new Ultraman? Now, you remember a couple of years ago with that whole legal debacle, China tried to come up with their own Ultraman, and admittedly, it was a good design, but they were trying to jack that, you know, through legal means that weren't on the level.
Yeah,
and then eventually...
because China does that.
Because they do that. And eventually Tsuburaya got that whole thing settled in court. So this is why they feel like they can do this now, because they're freed up to do it. The legal battle's over. They've got this coming out. They're probably already working on the other one. Rube is almost over. They've got one more episode left. It's sad to see. But the idea of Ultraman coming over here in a new form, I just don't know how to think of it without it being a movie. Because if you're going to bring a series over, why not just do what we used to do, what's been done before, and dub one of the other series?
Right, we've dubbed a small handful of series. Ultraman has been somewhat of a staple, even in America, ever since its inception. Even in the 60s, we brought over the original Ultraman and we dubbed it. It wasn't perfect, but it was actually pretty good. Sometimes it wasn't exact, but when you're talking about the 1960s localization,
I mean, you got to give a little credit.
It was pretty accurate to its original source material, aside from a little things here and there. And they've done that a couple of times. We don't necessarily like to talk about the Ultraman, not Gaia. What's Gaia?
Tiga?
Tiga. It's Ultraman Tiga that aired on Foxbox. That was embarrassing.
That was
very sad. It was like a parody dub, just about. And thankfully, I want to say they re-released it on DVD since, and it's significantly better subtitled. But that having been said, we got the Winkler Productions dubs of those movies.
Right, William Winkler Productions.
That came out a couple of years ago.
2 years at this point,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and those, you know, they come out sounding kind of Hong Kong dub-like, but that's just what's going to happen when you've got live-action dubbing.
Well, that, and he only had so many people to work with.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, if Tsuburaya is really... And mind you, he did that out of pocket, though. You know, he asked Tsuburaya, hey, can I license these so I can put these out over here because I love your stuff? And, you know, they do it, and, you know, people showed up. You know, we went to those showings back in Texas, and it wasn't just Texas, it was, you know, all over the US and Canada. People went to support Ultraman, and now we live in an age where Ultraman awareness is getting back to a place where people can be like, oh yeah, I recognize that guy, yeah, he's Pepsi Man, yeah, I kind of know that guy.
Man. And we talked about this the last time we talked about Ultraman, but going to a place like G-Fest, the Godzilla Festival, there is a shockingly large volume of people there who know and recognize and appreciate Ultraman because they also are huge kaiju monster fans, and Ultraman is traditionally, you know, this big kaiju thing. In fact, it was birthed off the back of Godzilla because the very first thing that Ultra Q used, the very first Ultra series just before Ultraman came out, was a reutilized suit of Godzilla.
Yeah.
So it's all intertwined and interconnected.
Well, yeah, because Ishido Honda and Eiji Tsuburaya were working on Godzilla, and then Eiji Tsuburaya split off to do Ultra Q, and then eventually Ultraman. Like, they're joined at the hip, basically.
And Godzilla fans, like, American, like, we make fun of, like, 98 Godzilla, you know? Zilla. But let's be fair, we wouldn't have the newer Godzilla movies, and we're going to talk about another Godzilla movie next up here, but we wouldn't have these Godzilla movies if it weren't for the fact that America loves Godzilla, right? So you connect that with the Ultraman fandom, like, they're all interconnected. If you really build this as something like, you guys know what this is, you really do. You just don't know that you know what this is. It could be really, really big if they really get in on the monster fandom in the United States.
Honest to goodness, with the success of the MonsterVerse, like, the fever pitch that I see on Twitter of people like, you know, give me my big boys, I want to see them, and I know I don't want to get ahead of myself, but to piggyback off that, I really think they should try and do a movie over here. Now, you remember a couple of years ago, somebody did that weird trailer / test footage of it was kind of a thin Ultraman fighting a monster.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. Like, I think it could work. Now, the thing of it is, if you get the right people attached to it, I think it could work. And people have brought this up over the years, but I can think of two really popular, really influential people. Guillermo del Toro.
That's exactly what I was
Get him on that mess. He'll design the hell out of it and stay true to it.
And he'll just go, like he does when remember when you saw the footage of him freaking out at Baltan Seijin, and this is what
he was so happy for that.
Yeah.
And the other person, again, not a lot of people knows, Will Smith is a big Ultraman fan.
Is he?
He is.
Huh, no kidding.
You know, he was asked before in an interview, you know, who's your favorite superhero? And he said Ultraman. And people were like, did he say that right? Does he mean like DC comic Ultraman? But he was like, no. And it's like, no, he means Ultraman. Like, honest, I think it's a no-brainer situation. Guillermo directs, Will stars, boom. There's your Ultraman. Like, on that alone, you could sell that movie.
That could be big. That could be really, really big. So wait, who was the studio that they were gonna be trying to work with? What have they done? I meant to look this up before we started the show, actually.
Starlight Runner Entertainment. So the thing of it, I'm not really familiar with them either. Like, they've worked with a licensing group across multiple platforms to try and get this started. The CEO said that Ultraman is one of my favorite heroes. We're honored to be embarking on this mission to bring this family of characters back to the world stage. So Starlight apparently seems very committed to this idea.
Oh, sure.
But to be honest, I've never heard of them. Do they have the juice for this sort of thing? Because Tsuburaya, they're starting to get juice back. You know, the decisions with Rube are kind of iffy, but, you know, the Ultraman's still getting back out there again.
Sure.
So from that aspect, and especially with the Netflix thing, that's their biggest card to play right now. That's the best thing they've got going for them. But to parlay that back into live action, like, hey, let's try and sell you back on the thing we do best.
Right.
You have to do that in a way that people might not expect, or you have to make people come to you.
I've seen people kind of freaking out on Twitter like, hey, do you need ideas for this? Because I've got ideas. And they start writing to people and like trying to get in on the ground floor of this thing. And I'm just over here like, come on, guys. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. They have their own idea already.
Yeah, like they've got an idea, I imagine. Yeah. Like this is just me putting in my 2 cents for what they're going to do. So basically, if it's one of those two things, if it's a live action movie, I'm down for it so long as you really put yourself behind it. You know, 110%. If they do a live action series over here, like, how do you treat that? Is it its own separate mythology, or do you directly tie it back to all the Ultramen that have come before?
How Japanese does it get? Like, do we do the 3 growing thing?
I think you have to.
Like, that's such an Ultraman thing. Do we get he drops from the sky a little bit and, like, he does the ground pound
and
sort
then,
of
you know,
landing?
The soot comes up out of the ground.
Such an iconic Tsuburaya thing to do.
And they keep it in Gridman, which is so great.
Yeah. And it's because that's iconic to who Tsuburaya is. And the question is, like, those are such Japanese kind of cinematography and special effects stylings. Does America use it, or does it end up looking cheesy to an American audience if you do those things in an American property?
Well, no, because you can do it and have it not be Tsuburaya and it still looks good. Case in point, Evangelion. Because Anno was basing that off that imagery he grew up with as a kid, and he does that same thing. The Evas land with that much force.
But we haven't seen that in live action.
So the thing of it is, it's still dynamic. Guillermo was pulling from that a lot too when he was doing Pacific Rim.
Sure.
The first one, because that was where you've got an auteur's eye. You know, you've got that attention to detail. You know, the little things where certain things were crumbling a certain way in the first one.
Sure.
The attention to detail and scale. That's what you need to keep intact. That Ultraman is this bigger than life thing, and it's not a robot. It's a dude. You know, the monsters we've gotten used to, we're used to monsters here in America. What we're not used to yet is a giant dude.
Yeah.
We need to see that.
Now, the only place we have seen that is Ant-Man when we get Giant Man, big old guy.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, like, Scott doesn't even...
And it's kind of a joke. It's played off like, oh, this is funny. It's just this big guy walking around.
And to be fair, they kind of have a similar color scheme. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a dude who's, like, there, and he's doing, like, pro wrestling moves. And he's there to get it. And he's got lasers, man. Spacium beam. Swatch. I want it. I want the movie.
But that's the thing I'm curious about is America gonna take it seriously if it's like a large-scale Hollywood film, and there's like a giant dude? Are people going to take a giant dude seriously because the only thing we have to compare it to is in Ant-Man is a very not serious dude in a big form in a cute suit.
And then I just realized the other thing that we have to compare it to, and it's not even quite that. You know, we've got Pacific Rim, we've got Godzilla, Ant-Man, you're right, as Giant Man, and that you remember that like a year or so ago, that movie Colossal with Anne Hathaway?
Yeah.
That's the only other thing we got to compare it to. But
even then, she's a monster.
Yeah, she's still monsters.
She's not a dude.
I fully believe that if you take it, if the studio, if Subudai and Starlight, if you take it seriously about this giant dude, we will take it seriously that it's a giant dude.
That's true.
Because it's all
about commitment.
You have to commit.
Leaning into it.
Yeah, you have to lean into it. Your commitment, your resolve has to be that deep. Like, no, I believe I'm going to show you this world where monsters attack and it's actually really common. And we don't have robots to fight back. The stuff we do have doesn't work. We have to rely on this dude. We don't even know who he is, and he only shows up for 3 minutes.
Do you do the traditional, more often than not, there's a science team that's, like, checking out all the stuff happening.
You gotta keep the science team.
You get a science team?
Because is
our Ultraman a member of the science team and is keeping it a secret?
You keep it the same, because think about it. They tried doing it different. Technically the Hollywood way, because you remember Ultraman the Next, where they tried redoing the origin story and they took away all of that.
Yeah, right.
And it didn't feel the same. Like, yeah, it was Ultraman, but the plot wasn't there. Like, once you get to the end monster fight, like, most people, I understand if you go to YouTube and just look up the end fight, or just the fight in the middle of the movie, because there's really only 2 fights. That ain't quite it, and that was from Subudaya.
Granted, Subudaya in the last couple of years has released series where there isn't a science team.
No.
More traditionally, there's a science team, but there have been a couple of times when there has not been, and it's been okay.
Well, yeah, but so long as you have, like, a core team there, like, a group of people that can bounce ideas off one another, like, they're not necessarily space explorers. Sometimes it's a science team. Sometimes it's just a group of people together. But so long as you have a core number of people to bounce ideas off of, because that movie, he was just by himself.
Right. Well, like, take, for example, Rube. They're just bros, and they get big.
The whole idea there is, you know, you've got the family aspect. You've got the brothers, you got the sister, you got the dad, the mom's out there somewhere. Like, there's enough people to have scenes and interplay with, juxtaposed to the giant monster battles. But you think of something like, say, Geed. It's not a science team per se, but it's like a ragtag science team. They put it together themselves. So maybe they could do it, maybe they don't have to, but I would prefer that they have the science team.
Sure, I get you. I hear you.
So, yeah, we're going to keep an eye on this for sure, because if they're opening the door for this is just going to make me give that eye to Toei, like Toei.
No. Well, you want Toei to step up their game and bring more stuff to North America.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand.
Toei, what are you doing? Subudaya, they're coming.
Subudaya's on their game again.
They're on the game.
So everybody else needs to act like this is important, because this is important.
No, this is amazing.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the last thing, because we're still talking about big monsters and stuff.
We're talking about the king of the monsters here. Godzilla King of the Monsters came in with this new, brand spanking new trailer that we've been waiting for. We know people got to see it at Brazil Comic Con. We had to wait a little bit, like another day or two. Okay, fine. But looking at it, we actually have our clear shots of Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah.
And this is piggybacking off of those posters that we showed you guys earlier in the episode today.
Well,
and
strike that, reverse it. This came out, and then we got the posters next
right,
day.
of course. But all the same, we already talked about these posters, so we've seen doubly, like, they're really pushing the media now for Godzilla King of the Monsters. It's super exciting. They're really not scared to show us the monsters anymore.
Now, some people are scared, like, oh, they're showing us too much. I don't think they've shown us hardly anything. Like, here, we've got the new Easter eggs of there's apparently 2 other monsters in the movie that aren't the ones we've seen. Like, they people have asked them before, are there going to be other monsters? There's one right there.
Right.
Like, and they said, just wait, just watch. Just watch. And usually that's a yes, because, you know, you've got something you don't want to show me yet. I'm fine with that. You want to, you know, spoil me and be like, hey, guess what? We brought you Anguirus. He's here. He's here. You know who else? Gigan's here. He's here. Everybody coming in. Like, that would be great. That would be awesome.
Open the door for some other monster movies, maybe even on their own individually. I think that would be amazing.
Like they used to do back in the day. I think just as a note here, I don't know if anybody else pointed this out, when they're talking to the Senate here, that's CCH Pounder there on the panel. That's Amanda Waller from Justice League, from the old cartoon. Like, I recognize the voice. Like, is Amanda Waller gonna recruit Godzilla to the Suicide Squad? What's going on here? I don't know about that. Now, seeing the scale of these things, I love seeing Mothra in flight now, because that's what I was really worried about. Because we kind of saw the larval form before, and we saw the action figure, and the action figure looked a little bit wonky.
Right.
But here, seeing Mothra in action, it's like, okay, that looks like Mothra proper. Like, that's the right face.
Yes.
Mothra has to have the right face. But then looking at, like... Rodan did a barrel roll.
He did. It was great.
And it was great. Like, I thought I was going to be like, oh my god, he did a barrel. But I'm like, he did a barrel roll.
No, it looks amazing. They did it right.
They did it right.
They did it so that it looks cool. It looks kind of scary and intimidating. Like,
no, scary and intimidating, that's all King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Like, he's friggin' huge. And the thing of it is, like, I told you this before we started the show tonight. I want to go back and rewatch, because we did a marathon way back in the day of all the old Godzilla movies. I need to go back and watch those movies in specific with King Ghidorah, because some of the paneling there in the shots is very much evocative of the first time Godzilla and King Ghidorah faced off in the Toho films.
Right.
So clearly we see that they've got a respect, a knowledge for the parent company's material, and they're hearkening back to that. And people over here, now that Godzilla's a household name, like, they can be like, yeah, I'm in on that. You know,
I mean, Godzilla's been a household name for decades, even in North America.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So people have had a chance, you know, on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray now, people know who these characters are. See, this is what happens when you get in there, you commit to showing this thing, and people latch on to, hey, you know what? I know those are guys in rubber suits, but that's really cool. And then the people who love it go on to make stuff like this.
Right, and there's something I miss about the guys in rubber suits, but at the same time, the CG's not bad looking. You know?
To be fair, it's CG on top of mocap. There are guys fighting.
Oh, sure,
each other in this.
That's fine. That's cool and all, but there's an element of traditional tokusatsu that's a little lost in it.
I do get that, and there's been arguments back and forth on that, even going back to 2014's Godzilla, or even Shin Godzilla, of are we losing something by not having suits anymore? And I think to a certain extent, when you can use a practical effect, you should.
Right.
I think of some of the deleted, or not even deleted footage, test footage for Shin Godzilla that they were doing. They had this warehouse that was housing, just from the chest up, the torso of Shin Godzilla.
I want to say that some of the shots in Shin Godzilla were in fact, they were at least partial suits, and yeah, like models and big old figures and stuff that they shot, they filmed, and then they did stuff on top of. Mind you, that was not the majority of the movie, but I want to say that there are a fair number of shots in there where they did that.
Well, because Shinji Higuchi, who was one of the directors who worked on it, did the same thing for Attack on Titan. When they had the Colossal Titan, they used the same method. You know, from the chest up, we've got an animatronic. Now, for that, they didn't clean it up like they did for Shin Godzilla, because they didn't have which was weird, because they had Warner Brothers money, but Toho's money made it look better.
Well, interestingly enough, too, you remember the Attack on Titan movie.
Yeah, we saw both of them.
Movies. Their live action was not good.
Well, see, because that's the funny thing, because the Titans were all done with dudes.
Yeah, and
they could have used some CG.
It looked weird. It was mostly in the hair and the masks. That was just the weirdest looking thing. So I can understand why in some cases, yeah, live action, you go, oh, okay, never mind. I see why we've made this move to CG a little bit. So I feel like there's got to be some way you can work with both. Granted, I am thrilled that a lot of this movie is mocapped. I'm thrilled about that. They look great in this trailer.
Well, because
they really do.
To be fair, they're making them do things that a puppet technically might not be able to do, or might not be able to do convincingly. That's the thing. Because yeah, we know that we're here to see giant monsters duke it out, but you got to give us a little bit of credit on suspension of disbelief, because if I see, like, think about that barrel roll specifically. If it was a puppet doing that, it might, one, it's the cost effectiveness of it. That's usually what a lot of it is. But if it was doing the barrel roll and you do it from the right angle, it could look amazing.
Sure.
But if you do it from the wrong angle, it's like, that's a puppet.
Of course.
And it's all subjective. Do you want to run that risk, or do you want to go with what you know is going to work yeah, we got to do this in CG?
But with Hollywood, if it was a puppet, it's so much easier to clean it up in post. You just digitally remove anything that makes it look like a puppet from that shot,
So, I mean, I fully believe that the final product is absolutely going to wow me. This is one, no complaints. This is going to be IMAX.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is getting released in IMAX. And if we can do IMAX and D-Box with the seats shaking...
That'd be insane. That's a lot of money, especially out here, but that'd be
that's
insane.
that's like $50, but, like, I'll pay it. Shoot. Like, look at him!
You're excited.
Yes, I'm excited.
Good.
Because, you look at him, it's like...
There he goes.
It's like,
there they go.
I imagine this is what people who watch football feel like. Like, when kickoff happens. That's what that is. They're on both sides of the field and they're coming at each other.
It looks like they're about to do some wrestling.
They're going to do some... Like, I want to see if Godzilla still gets King Ghidorah on that pile driver like he did in the old movies.
Some old kaiju big battle over here.
Exactly. Or if Rodan's going to pick him up and carry him and throw him into King Ghidorah. I want to see that.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to see Mothra die, though. Y'all, let Mothra live.
Mothra doesn't live. I'm sorry.
Mothra did nothing wrong.
Mothra will... I mean, in her death is what saves everyone, though.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't even have the twins this time, so maybe it doesn't have to be that.
You don't know! You don't know that we don't have the twins!
I'm assuming we don't have the twins.
What? If Mothra is there have to be twins.
Like, I think I said this before. Straight up, when Millie Bobby Brown got cast in this, I thought, oh, she's going to be the twins. They're just going to pull that
both of them.
She's going to be both of them. That's what I thought. But I guess that's not the case. Y'all want to prove me wrong, go right ahead. Like,
I would love for you to be wrong. Granted, we don't know one way or the other, but come on, they gotta. They got...
if we don't get the twins or just have somebody hum the Mothra song. If we can have some of that.
Mosuda, yeah.
If you can give us some of that, please. Just a little bit more fan service. Like, you're giving me a lot, but I want more.
All right, we gotta wrap this up.
Please and thank you.
We gotta wrap this up. We can totally continue talking about this in just a second, but for right now, I want to thank all you guys who came out here to join us live for tonight's episode. For those of you who are on YouTube right now, thank you so much for also watching on YouTube. But the only way you can get a chance to hang out with us for an additional 30 minutes like we're about to do with our live folks over here right now is if you come on down here on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to do an additional half an hour Q&A chat session with everybody who's right here live in the room. It would be great to have you guys down here next week as well.
And of course, during the week, you can always talk to us over on social media. On Twitter, I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
And that's been tonight's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you guys again next week.